Do you know how you have those special recipes? I think all of us have them. Well, today I thought I would tell you about one of those for our family. I think about it like there are some recipes that fill your stomach, and then there are those ones that tell a family story. So this one tells a family story. So when Rob and I first started dating, I learned that his favorite meal was homemade chicken and dumplings. And it wasn't just because he liked them and he thought they tasted good, although he thought that, but it was because it reminded him of his Grandma Toppert. And I never got a chance to meet her. She had passed away before I ever had the chance to meet her. But I came to know her through his stories. So he would talk about how she spent a couple of days making this chicken and dumplings from scratch. And it wasn't something that came from a box or happened in a hurry. It was a meal that she took a lot of time to make. So even now, he still gets emotional when he talks about her. So I know that she must have meant an awful lot to him. Or she still does mean a lot to him. So when I had learned that, I wanted to give him a little piece of those memories. And so I made him chicken and dumplings the way I had heard that his grandma had made them. So when I make chicken and dumplings, I start with a whole chicken, and I usually put it in a crock pot, and I'll let it cook down for a day. And then I'll shred the meat off of the meat away from the bones. And then I'll put the bones back in with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and draw some more of the bone broth. And then I add celery and onions into the broth, but I'll initially cook it, and then I'll pull like the celery and onions back out, and then I'll blend it so it has a smooth texture. And then I will also, when I have the time, he especially likes homemade dumplings. And so when the very first batch I ever made had homemade dumplings with herbs in it. Well, now I just use herbs that I get from the garden. And typically I use lovage, which tastes a lot like celery. And then I'll use parsley. And I'll add that into the dumplings. Something to know about this recipe is while it's a family favorite, it's not a quick weekend or weeknight meal. It's one that asks you to slow down. So it is a labor of love. And then I also thought it would be important to address the fact that it's late July and I'm making this dish that's typically made in the wintertime. And that's typically because, like, when you think of celery and carrots and onions, you think of them as being like your cellar vegetables that you typically store in the winter. And it's the kind of hearty comfort food that warms you from the inside out on a cold day. But around here, we still make it in the summer. And that's because it's one of his favorites. And it's also when I'm not in school, so I have more time to make foods like that for the family. And then also, if you guys live around here, you know that it's been extremely hot. So instead of heating up the kitchen, I just let the crock pot do most of the work. So that way it keeps the house cooler while the broth slowly develops that rich homemade flavor throughout the day. So by supper time, all that's left for me to do is make the dumplings and let those cook, and then I can serve it up. So even now, after all these years, Rob gets pretty excited whenever he knows that I've made chicken and dumplings. And somewhere along the way, our daughter fell in love with it too. So what started out as a way to honor a memory of Rob's grandma has become one of our own family traditions. That's one of the things I think I like about cooking. Recipes don't just feed people, They carry stories and preserve memories and create new ones around the table. So if you've never made homemade chicken and dumplings from scratch, I hope you'll give it a try. It does take time, but I believe it's worth every minute. And I feel like some meals they're savory. Like this dish is very savory, but when I make this, I think it tastes like home. So I hope you'll give this recipe a try, and I'll leave the recipe in the description, and please reach out with any questions. I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you'll give this recipe a try.